Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. Today, we are going to talk about the Captain's Wine Cellar and why Battleship New Jersey has one of those. We are all the way aft on the O1 level on the port side of the ship. Most of the O1 level going forward are various officers' cabins. All the way forward on New Jersey is the 1980s Admiral cabin. And then on the starboard side, on the other side of the ship, it's two passageways that go parallel to each other. On that other side is the captain's in-port cabin. We've done a bunch of videos in the captain's cabin. We're not going to do that again. But back here, we've got two captain's storerooms. The captain of a U.S. Navy ship, especially a big capital ship like New Jersey, is usually the senior U.S. diplomat in any given port. And this goes all the way back to the age of sail, when sending a warship to another country was almost always a diplomatic action. Nowadays, we have a professional State Department that has diplomats almost everywhere, and yet it's still a big deal every time an American warship goes to visit at any of these ports of call. Certainly in service, whenever New Jersey pulled into a port and was able to do an open house, there were always thousands of people lined up to come and tour the ship. And those include foreign dignitaries. On New Jersey, we've had several Scandinavian princes, we've had the president of South Korea at least twice, other diplomats and important persons, and this ship acted as a flagship going to a number of other countries, so often was entertaining important people. So the captain's cabin is a fancy space, and there's silver to eat off of, blah, blah, blah. It's a great place you can bring people and talk shop. So the captain has his own stewards. In addition to the stewards that clean the officers' cabins and do other work around the ship, the captain has his own specific stewards assigned, and he has his own storerooms, which is what we're at back here. So there's this storeroom here, storeroom number 2, and these have been taken over by the ship to store other things, mostly radio and telephone equipment. And so this was probably dry stores and other stuff. I suspect it was stuff to outfit the cabin when people were visiting. There's a space in there for tablecloths and things like that, but in terms of furniture and other things, dry stores, special foods, stuff like that that's not stored down with the general stuff where it will be taken. And we got those spaces here. The other storeroom back here gets turned into the wine cellar probably only in 1989 under Captain Tucker. How do we know it's the wine cellar? It doesn't show up on our booklet of general plans as such. However, some battleships do specifically have those spaces. For example, French and Italian battleships both have wine cellars on board. Check out this inboard profile of a Littorio-class battleship that shows the wine cellar. And also, pretty famously, in I believe it was 1914, an Austro-Hungarian submarine torpedoes the French battleship Jean Bart in the bow, directly in her wine cellar. So, it's not uncommon for battleships to have a space like this, particularly battleships from countries where drinking wine is a cultural thing. Now, how do we know this is a wine cellar since it doesn't show up on the booklet of general plans? Easy. Each of these shelves is still taped with exactly what bottles are on there. So when the steward comes to grab whatever the captain told him to grab for whatever ceremony or meeting is going on, they know which ones to get. Traditionally, in the American Navy, alcohol was given out to the crew as part of their normal rations. That goes all the way up into the beginning of the Civil War. In September 1, 1862, the Navy was still giving away, Royal Navy would have been rum. In the American Navy, it was usually whiskey. That is the grog ration. So that goes away at that point, but the officers were still allowed to have some of their spirits. They weren't drinking grog, they had the actual fancy stuff on board. Grog is a mixture, usually 50% hard liquor, usually rum, like I said, and 50% water. You're mixing it with that water for a couple of reasons. One, it's now less alcoholic. Two, it will deteriorate. Like, the water will cause the alcohol to break down, so a sailor can't save several days worth of rum rations and then drink them to get drunk. You basically have to drink it then, or it doesn't taste any good anymore. It wasn't until July 1st, 1914, that the United States gets rid of all spirits on ships for the purposes of drinking. There are still various reasons to have alcohol on board, including medicinal purposes, and sometimes alcohol is used as fuel for things like torpedoes and whatnot. So recreationally, alcohol goes away in the U.S. Navy in 1914, which doesn't mean it's like that around the world. Like I said, in World War II, you still had French and Italian ships that had these. Today, I've been on a German frigate that has a bar on board. Like, alcohol still exists on some ships. And so it's kind of unique that New Jersey, at the end of her career, has a wine cellar on board as an American warship. And I do know that in foreign ports, it's not uncommon for sailors to buy like huge cases of alcohol, and they would be allowed to bring that on the ship. And there were spaces where they could lock that stuff up, because very common, stuff is cheaper in a lot of these foreign ports, so it's very common for guys to go and spend their paycheck to get new electronics and and alcohol and things like this in bulk. But they can't have that in their lockers, their staterooms, things like that. So there is a storage space on the ship where all this would be locked up until you get back to your home port and the crew takes it ashore. That said, the captain is the highest legal authority on the ship, and what they say goes. So who's going to tell the captain he can't have this alcohol on here? So what do you think? Is it fair that the captain has access to a wine cellar and the rest of the crew doesn't? Let us know in the comment section down below. Also, for those former sailors out there, I know that there was other alcohol on the ship. Tell me some good stories about that in the comment section down below. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below for more ways you can donate to support the ship. You can also support us by buying Battleship alcohol at the link in the description below, or by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find about the museum and our channel. Thanks for watching.